Welcome back to the Orderly Podcast. This is a podcast for women who want to draw nearer to Jesus by ordering their lives around him. I'm your host, Becky Crawley, and today is the second episode on our series about friendship. If you happen to miss last week's episode, I want to invite you to go back and listen into the series premiere, where we're laying the foundation of what biblical, Jesus centered friendship really looks like. Friendship is a place that calls us forward. It's a place where we can be deeply known and seen. It's a place that calls us out of isolation and invisibility. But if we're honest, it feels like isolation has quietly become the goal of modern life. We order our food from Uber Eats instead of going out with people. We Instacart our groceries so we don't have to interact with anyone. We watch movies at home instead of going out with friends. We outsource community to social media and we sacrifice fellowship for online church. And please hear me, there is nothing wrong with any of these things. There is nothing unholy about outsourcing your time for peace. I've had seasons of motherhood where every single one of those felt like a lifeline to me. The trap is when we use those things to hide, to numb, to avoid any relational way, to avoid living in the relational way that Jesus designed us to live. Because here's what's happening culturally. 1 in 3 Americans say that they feel lonely at least once a week. 1 in 4 people say they have no close friends. Researchers are calling this a friendship recession. And over the next few weeks, we're going to look at 4 key attributes of friendship, 4 cures that Jesus modeled in his everyday life. Before we start that, though, I have to tell you where I came from. Many of you know that I came from Christian publishing. And during my time in Christian publishing, there was an ethos, a framework that was developed in me as a part of the way that the company lived. These were their core values, and they didn't just talk about them or put them up somewhere in the HR room. They lived them out, not just in the way that they treated their employees and they treated their customers, in the way that we shaped everything that we did there. And these values were called the 4 acts of love. The group believed that these 4 attributes were the way that Jesus modeled love. When we say that we're called to love, that these are the 4 ways that he did it. The first one is radical hospitality. And this is about creating a welcoming environment. So when you think of the word hospitality, you dress up your home, you get out the pretty napkins, you make sure there's a candle lit in the bathroom. And this is a way to make your guests feel at home. Well, radical hospitality is about creating a welcoming environment in our hearts and our actions towards other people. The next one is called fearless conversation, and today is going to be a lot about fearless conversation. Jesus did not avoid hard conversations. He spoke to the Jews, Gentiles, Samaritans, religious leaders, government leaders, rich, poor, everyone. And he was unafraid to tell them the truth, to tell them the truth about the kingdom, to tell them the truth about the way that they were living their lives, to tell them what the difference between what they thought was the law and what was actually God's law. He wasn't afraid. He used fearless conversation as a way to connect with people. The next one is genuine humility. So God became a baby. He was born in a barn. He is the holy creator of the universe, and he lived as a man amongst us. He served us. He sacrificed his life for us. He demonstrated what genuine humility looks like, and his act of love towards us was that genuine humility. The next one is called divine anticipation. Jesus lives in me. He lives in you. He lives in our friends, our spouses, and some of the people that we may call enemies who have the Lord in them. He lives in them too. So he is here and he is ready to participate in this discussion with us. He is here on this podcast today. He is living in my heart. He is living in your heart. And we are going to divinely anticipate that where our shortcomings come in, he fills the gap for that. So the first C of our cures for friendship is curiosity. This is by far, I think, the most important C of all of them. And it is not failing me that today is the day, even though I've been planning this for months and months, that today is the day I'm recording this episode. Today, there is grand upheaval in this world. Today, Christians are pointing the fingers at both sides. Today, there is so many reasons for us to avoid getting curious with each other. And so I'm so excited that today is the day that I'm going to record this podcast. So, the first C, curiosity, is the four acts of love wrapped up in it, which is why I had to talk about this. When I talk about what love is, you need to understand where I come from and what I mean by that. That these four acts of love are all things that God did in love for us. So, curiosity is the cure to conflict. Curiosity obliterates misunderstandings. Curiosity rids our relationships of assumptions. Curiosity leads to a deeper understanding of someone's heart. I want to start by telling you a story. My husband, he did 2 tours in Iraq and one in Afghanistan. He volunteered for all three. He saw things that he can't even talk about. We call them his treasure box moments because they're too painful and they're too much. He was medically discharged after being blown up by an IED bomb. He is a true miracle, both physically and mentally. The things that he's had to overcome are deeply amazing. So when he asked me if we could put up a flagpole in front of our house, I knew why he needed to do that. I knew it was because he deeply believes in the time that he served and in the work that he did, and that he saw firsthand what the absence of freedom really looks like. And so, of course, I had to say, yes, I understand that part of his healing is his ability to express his gratefulness for this country and for the freedom that we are able to live in. Friends, I did not realize what I was agreeing to. The boxes were the length of our garage. He had to dig a trench to run power for the lighting feature. It's almost as tall as our house. I'm sitting here and I can see it right out of my upstairs window. And I have to admit, our giant flagpole, it worries me a little bit. Because today, as an American, a flag means different things to different people. Some people see hope and some people see hate. And I worry that my neighbors might place us in a camp before ever getting to know what is really in our heart, the Jesus that we serve, the character that we have, the love that we have. And so I don't want our American flag to be a misunderstanding, but I also understand why this flag means so much to my husband. And it's that easy in this world today for us to make assumptions, for misunderstandings to form, for conflict to grow, and to completely miss someone's heart. And ladies, this is not the only invisible camp that we create. We have a lot of invisible camps that we put each other into. Whether it's parenting styles, school choices, clothing brands, grocery stores, diets, shoes and purses, makeup, careers, working moms versus stay-at-home moms, churches, Bible translations, theologians, social media, no social media. I could go on and on and on. Curiosity is the cure. Curiosity asks questions. It seeks stories. It looks past ideology and into a person's heart. I want you to imagine that right now I'm showing you a picture of a woman. She could be any woman. And on the front of her sweater is a big, giant heart. Now, I want you to imagine me stacking all of the labels that I just mentioned so high that you can't even see her heart. It's covered up by all of these labels. You miss everything about her heart when we cover it up that way. But when we get curious, we remove the labels, and suddenly all that you see is that person's heart. That is how Jesus sees us. And when we see someone's heart, it becomes so much harder to cast them aside when misunderstandings happen. In John chapter 1, verses 4 through 5, it says, "The Word gave life to everything that was created, and in his life brought light to everyone. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it." When we get curious about people, we partner with Jesus to bring light into dark places. Let's take a look at a few examples about how Jesus practiced curiosity in his life. The first story that we're going to look for is in Mark chapter 5. So if you do happen to have a Bible, you can open up to Mark chapter 5. We're going to be reading the story of the woman with the issue of blood. So if you remember in this story, this woman, it's actually in three different sections of the Bible, but the one that I like the best is in Mark. So this Jesus is in a hurry. Someone is dying. He is on his way to prevent this person from dying. As he's traveling through, lots of people are crowding around. It's a big crowd of people. And a woman comes up and she just touches the hem of his robe. And as she does that, healing comes out of him and he heals her. He knows who touched him. He knows that he's already healed her. He is not solving a mystery. He is on his way to an urgent matter. He certainly does not need more attention from other people. So the question is, why did he then stop? He stops, he looks around, and he asks, "Who touched my robe?" The reason he stopped is because he wasn't just healing her body, he was going to heal her entire identity. In this time and day, a woman who was stuck in bleeding wasn't allowed to go to the temple. She wasn't allowed to offer sacrifices. She wasn't allowed to be around other people, to be touched or to touch other people. She lived in complete and total isolation because of her identity. And she had been to doctors, and she had tried naturopaths, and she had tried essential oils, and she had tried all of the different cleansing diets and vitamins, and nothing had helped. She had tried every single thing. Nothing helped. She was a pariah. Nobody hung out with her. This woman was completely and totally isolated. And he stopped because he needed to say to everyone, "This woman is clean." Her isolation was over. She could return to her community. We know this woman. I know you know this woman. She is the friend who suffers from chronic illness, who is always talking about whatever latest doctor thinks she's trying, whether it's "I'm on a cleanse, I'm taking these new vitamins," whatever it is. You know this friend. You know that friend who is on her infertility journey, who is wrecked with pain, who is consumed with fear. You know the woman walking through divorce right now, who feels like she doesn't even know who she is, who has all this drama piling up, all these things. Is she going to get her kids? Is she going to get her house? She is consumed. The woman who has a child who is struggling, whether that is through illness or some behavioral problems, but it's an ongoing thing and she's always talking about it. The woman whose husband just lost a job or that she just lost a job. You know this woman. And sometimes we quietly pull away because what's going on in their life, it's heavy, it's hard to carry. But Jesus didn't walk away from this woman. He leaned in, he got curious. Who touched my robe? Curiosity invites people back into community. Curiosity reminds people of who they are in Christ. Curiosity says, this does not disqualify you. This might be amplifying your calling. The next story we're going to jump into today is one of my most favorite stories. I tell this story all the time. There's so many different ways that you can pay ridiculous attention to Jesus in the story of the Samaritan woman at the well. This is in John chapter 4. If, like I said, if you're sitting and you have your Bible, open up with John chapter 4. Jesus talks with a Samaritan woman. She is an outcast. She's an adulteress, a sinner in everyone else's eyes. So this woman, she comes in the middle of the day. This is not the most ideal time of day to visit the well. She is there because that is when the rest of the women won't be there. She is intentionally isolating herself from other women because all they do is talk bad things about her. They say it behind her back. They say it straight to her face. If they're Jewish women, it's because she's a Samaritan. If they're not Jewish women, it's because she has herself in a pickle with some dudes. She is shacking up with a few different people, and the women just love to talk about her. So she shows up, it's the middle of the day, and Jesus is traveling between here and there. He is not with his entourage. Today, he is by himself. The disciples do show up at the end of the story. He is intentionally showing up on his own in the middle of the day when this woman is here. And they have a conversation. And I'll let you read more. But during this conversation, she puts a bunch of walls, a bunch of barriers. She tells him all of the reasons why he shouldn't talk to her, why he shouldn't care about her, why she means nothing to him. And he continues to get curious and curious and curious with her. And as he does that, he peels the labels back and he removes them. And he gets straight to the heart of who this woman is. In fact, in this story, this is the first person that he finally reveals, I am the Messiah. He tells her, I am the Messiah. This woman, with all the labels, with all the reasons not to be important, don't talk to me, nobody should talk to me, everyone should hate me. He says, no, you're important enough. I see who you are. And she runs off and she says, come and see a man who told me everything that I did. In this moment, he crosses racial barriers, religious barriers, gender barriers, cultural barriers. He sees straight to this woman's heart. His curiosity made her feel seen. His curiosity pulled her out of her isolation. His curiosity called her towards a life that would be in eternity. Now, I want you to go back to that picture that I shared with you earlier of the woman with the big, giant red heart. And I want you to place the labels on this Samaritan woman. Samaritan, adulteress, sinner, outcast. That's exactly what happened to this woman at the well. Her heart was there the whole time. He knew it. He could see it. It was beating. It was longing. It was thirsty for connection and truth, but it was buried under layers of cultural labels and whispered judgments. And when Jesus sat down at that well, he didn't see the labels. He didn't see the headlines. He didn't see the camp that she was placed in. He saw only her heart. With every question, every bit of curiosity that he put at her, he asked. With every fearless conversation, he entered into gently lifting those labels off of her chest until she realized, this is a man who finally sees me. That's what curiosity does. It peels back the layers. It removes the assumption. It uncovers the heart that's been there all along. And when someone realizes that you see their heart, it changes everything. That's why this woman ran back to her village and told everyone, come and see a man who told me everything I ever did. She wasn't ashamed anymore. She wasn't hidden anymore. She wasn't invisible anymore. Curiosity brought her heart into the light. So what do we do? Especially right now. There's so many ways that we can misunderstand each other. Some people feel like I should just say nothing because no matter what I say, it's going to be attacked. So I'll just be silent. I'll go to the well in the middle of the day when none of the women are there. I don't want to have to get involved. We need to ask better questions. When there's misunderstanding, we need to seek to understand, not to win. When we want to be known, we need to create space for others to be known first. I'm going to say that again. When we want to be known, we must create a space for others to be known first. When assumptions arise, we ask about stories and perspectives. We get off of our phones and into real life conversations. We go deeper than surface level small talk because everyone wants to be deeply known. And curiosity truly is the doorway to being known. This is a lot. We have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do in our churches. We have a lot of work to do in our communities. We have a lot of work to do in our friendships. But you can start today. I want you to think about who's somebody that you've been avoiding, that you need to have a conversation with, and that you need to start asking some questions to. Maybe you misunderstood them. I love that word misunderstanding. My son's preschool teacher says it all the time. I said, "Hey, did my son have a little fight with so and so today?" And she said, "I think they misunderstood each other because they're four, right? Nobody's malicious at four. They have misunderstandings, and so do we. The best way out of that misunderstanding is curiosity. Ask questions, find out their perspective. Be okay if you don't agree with them, but understand their heart, and you will see that you are closer together than you really thought." Thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful that you're on this journey with me. Next week, we're going to be talking about the next C, the cure for relational degradation in our society. The next C is commitment. Commitment is how we build trust, and it's how we deepen the reliability of the community around us. And we have become really uncommitted as friends. So I'm excited for you to join me. Until then, stay curious. Let Jesus show you the hearts that are around you. I hope you start seeing tons of big, beautiful hearts everywhere you go. This is Orderly Podcast. It's a podcast by BeckyCrawley.com. I'm your host, Becky Crawley, and you can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, really anywhere that you like to find your podcasts, you can find us. And we will look forward to hearing from you next time. Thanks. Bye.